Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining January 2023's edition of All Access Belize. I'm your host, David Kafka, and we have Serena joining us. How are you, sweetie?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. So we kind of had a faux pas of some sort, or something happened with Ryan, and Ryan cannot join us tonight. So what we're going to do is we're scheduling for the next one is February 2nd. Yeah, February 2nd. And we're going to do 6:30 Central Standard Time. 6:30 Central Standard Time. So we'll kind of put that in the chat. So if anyone's coming in late, they can be able to see it. But then Ryan will join us. I was looking forward to it because I had quite a few questions ready for him, but something came up and he just couldn't handle it or couldn't join tonight. So we'll get him on next month if we can, and then we'll let everybody know. So what we figured we'd do is we'll do our regular All Access Belize and answer your questions in the chat box. Let me just close some things so it doesn't take any bandwidth. So in the question and answer box, just basically ask any questions you want to ask about Belize. Living, investing, whatever questions you have. Until we get some questions, we will talk a little bit about what Serena and I did this past week, talking about goals and how you too can set goals for yourself in talking about wanting to buy a property, wanting to invest outside the US or North America or whatever. So I'm going to kind of talk to you a little bit about what I got from the retreat. The goals retreat is hosted by the real estate guys, and it was nothing real estate. This is strictly, we have like a 15-minute session on real estate investing, but it's basically just about setting goals and how only 3% of the world set goals. And I wasn't too big of a believer in setting goals. But when I looked over my goals list from last year, it's not really a goals list, but it's things you want, right? Everything from whatever you want. We picked, I wrote down 76 of them last year, and about 28% of what I wrote down came true. I mean, things like wanting to get my son his US passport, wanting to buy a couple properties, wanting to do this, wanting to do that. And I was shocked at how well I did last year without even knowing it, because once you write it down and think about it, your self-conscious mind kind of goes to work. It's a science behind it. I don't understand it. Maybe Serena does. I don't. So basically what I did this year was I wrote down 103 things that I want to get better at, I want to do. And so when it came to the retreat, you take those 101 things and then you pick 6 or 7, 8, 10 goals. And a goal has to be specific, has to be measurable, and has to have like a time frame and things like that. So one of my goals was I want to be, so the way you write it is in the present tense. So one of my goals is I want to be 20 pounds lighter at the end of December 31st, 2023. And then, I start writing down the plan, what I'm going to do, eat less and everything. And then you organize it. I also wrote down, I want to get better at spreadsheets. And then I write that down in a goal. So I definitely got a lot from this year. It was great that Serena got to join me because we could work on our business goals together. But we also write down family goals, spiritual goals, financial goals. So what Robert does is, and he talked a little bit about it last year on All Access Belize. So I encourage you to go back and look at it. Next year, it's going to be the second week of January at Dallas, or in Dallas, Texas. It won't be in Lake Las Vegas this year because we outgrew it. We had over 350 people Probably about 80% were new that have never been. So what did you think about it, Serena? This was not your first one, but what did you get out of it?
Yeah, so I was 18, 19 maybe, I think, when we went the last time. So now being 25, it was like a completely different experience. I felt like I was a completely different person, honestly. So it was interesting seeing the things that I want and what I thought I wanted. And it is so like, it really digs deep into what you want and how you can get it. And it's not too crazy of a shot. So it was amazing. I loved it. And I'm really excited. I haven't, we're still catching up. We've been gone for quite a few days from work. So I'm trying to catch up, but I got, some ideas in my head and how we're going to write it out and things like that. It was very interesting to know that, like, I want to be happy or I want to be confident or things like that. Like, that's not a goal. So it was great learning how to take those things that you want and to switch it into and write it down into how you can accomplish it. So it was great. It was amazing. And I can't wait to go next year.
Yeah, so I'll explain it a little bit about it, and then we'll kind of start talking a little bit about how you can write a Belize goal. But he basically walks you through it. I mean, this is Robert Helms was meant to do this. For many, many years. It didn't make a profit for him, but he said this year it did because of so many people. But he takes you through. Basically, it's for anybody that's auditorial. That listens and understands, anybody that sees and understands. So there's music, the lights are down low. It's long. It starts Friday night at about 4. We kind of get together and it's like homecoming week where we get to see all of our friends and new people. And then it goes to about 10 o'clock at night. And then Saturday starts at about 8:30 and goes to about 10:30 at night. There's a lot of breaks in between, like 2-hour breaks to journal, homework, if you will. And then Sunday, it starts at 9 and goes to about 6. And then after that, we have a big party, the afterglow reception. We usually pick a spot and then we just kind of talk and network. We try to talk about, our goals for the year and what we got out of the event, just to keep the goals, center mind. This isn't a networking event really, like we usually do, but there are friends and they're people, like-minded people that we get together, and so we wrote down a lot of goals. And so, me personally, I'm trying to buy more property in Belize. I'm very bullish on the Belize market. I have several properties under contract. I just got an email from the National Bank of Belize that they're doing a 5.5 interest rate for up to $200,000. So I'm thinking of refinancing a house or something like that to pull some equity out to refurbish my apartment building. And then maybe just do that with a couple properties and just buy more property. So I'm very, very bullish on the market. So how can you set a goal for Belize? And again, we're just talking because there's no questions yet. And if there's no questions, we'll just kind of talk about goals a little bit and then we'll end early. Again, I apologize that Ryan is not on. For those of you that came in late, he had something come up and can't join us. So we will be, trying to get him on for February. So stay tuned for February 2nd. Will be All Access Belize with Ryan Robel, who is my lawyer, and he does a lot of closings for us and things like that. And he's my personal lawyer I go to for most anything business related. If it's legal, like litigation or anything like that, he doesn't do. So I have another lawyer for that. But your goal for Belize could be something like this. And again, you can't make goals for anybody else other than yourself. You can just talk about it. Like I can't make goals for Serena about business, but I can just bring her along and explain to her, what I want and what I like for myself and try to get her to buy in, just like if you have a business of some sort. So a typical goal for Belize could be January 1st, 2024, I'll be walking out of my apartment or my condo in Placencia Village, Belize, or San Pedro, Belize, or something like that. And then what you got to do is you just got to work out the plan. And I'm happy to do this exercise with anybody. Basically, it's what are the steps needed to buy a property in Belize. So you have to educate yourself. You have to pick an agent. You have to set up how you're going to take the title for it. You'll pick a closing agent or an attorney, how you're going to pay for it. So you put all these steps on a piece of paper. And I actually have a template for you. If you're interested, just send me an email. And then what you'll do is, you'll put it in order, or what's more important. Step one, step two, like you're not going to put closing agent or picking a closing agent as your first one. You're going to pick, where you want to be in Belize. Come visit in Belize. Pick a real estate agent, like ourselves. I mean, we're not here to sell you nothing, but if you enjoy our education and you value our experience here, or my company's experience, then you'll use us as your agent to represent you. And it doesn't cost you nothing. It comes out of the sellers, or the listing agents. The listing agent pays for us, so we represent you. But we can give you that template and whatnot, and then we will help you go through the process of helping you achieve your goal. So we have a couple questions. Tom's asking, we'll be visiting Placencia in early February. We're driving from Belize City in a rental car, staying downtown along the sidewalk. Any suggestions on where to park since the lodging has no dedicated parking area? Our car's at risk of damage or break-ins in the downtown area. Okay, so it really depends on where. The sidewalk is about a mile long. And depending on where it's at, Tom, if you want to throw in the question and answer box where you're going to be, and then we can kind of help you with where to park. But you're not in any damage for break-ins, really. You're not going to leave your car unlocked or the keys in your car. But you'll lock the car at night, and I wouldn't leave valuables in there, just because it's not safe to do so anywhere in the world, not just Belize. But depending on where you're staying will depend on where you'll park. If you're close to the end of the sidewalk, you'll find a place downtown. Anywhere you can park is fine. There's not going to be really any damage, but you might have problems with somebody blocking you in for a little bit. So that might be the only problem, because it's getting kind of congested downtown. If you don't mind walking a little bit, then reach out to me. If you're close to the edge, I'll tell you about a place I manage where you can park near there and then walk along the beach, and it's pretty easy to go to, and plenty of parking. So let me know where as well. If you're closer to the Atlantic Bank or something like that, then I can definitely, give you some suggestions. But there might be dedicated parking, but if it's like around Toucan Lulu's or, Captain Jack's or something like that, there might be, not Captain Jack's. What's Stefano's place down there? The Octagon House. Anyways, near North Beach or something like that, then, you'll have some spaces down there where you can park. So let me know, and I'll answer that question if you come up with something. Cameron's asking, the name of the lawyer mentioned was Robel. Yes, ma'am. Ryan Robel. Again, I apologize. He let us know this afternoon that, or his assistant let us know this afternoon, he couldn't join us, and it was really too late of a time to get you on or let you all know. And so we decided just to go ahead and have a question and answer discussion. He's been my lawyer for many, many years. He's a lawyer in Belize. Excuse me. He's a lawyer in Belize. He's also admitted to the bar in New York, I believe. And he was working in Florida. Okay, Florida, New York. And he was working, last time he was on the show, he was working on Jamaica. So if you want to go back and look at the archives, he was with us before. He's just returning. We just had a lot of changes going on at the company's registry, and I wanted to have him on. And I'm about to start a different kind of, well, as you know, I have a Caribbean Capital Group, which is a asset management company. And so we're going to start a fund where, we'll collect, let's say, $1 million from investors, and then we'll help people buy property using financing. And then, you'll have to put money down, and we'll use the property as collateral, just like a bank would. But banks take here so long, and I've not had really any good luck with a bank. Outside, I have one loan with Atlantic Bank for our resort in Hopkins that will be paid off in a couple of years. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try to maybe get a refinance one of my houses and try to put that money to work, pull some equity out. So he's very knowledgeable. He's been living in Belize for a very long time. I think just as long as I have, or maybe a little bit longer. So he'll definitely be on again. I was actually going to contact them next week about, okay, very good. Tell him you heard about him from us or something like that. And I think you might get some discounts being a referral from Remax or Caribbean Capital Group. So so anyway, so he's I want to talk to him, about some foreclosure laws, and I know the foreclosure laws in Belize, but there's some other ideas I have, and we'll probably put some kind of other investment in there that's going to produce a decent cash flow as well, because we want the rates to be a little low, but we also want to maximize the investor's return. So by adding a type of like oil and gas from the US, some kind of investment, I was going to talk to him about it. So anyway, stay tuned on that. It'll definitely be something that we'll be offering in the near future. It was one of my goals this year to have it done by at least open by I think the end of March is what I was thinking, to have the debt fund up and running. So again, thank you for joining. This is David Kafka and Serena Hoffman. We are with Remax and Caribbean Capital Group. So, there you go, Tom. Towards the south end, Google Maps are a bit fuzzy, but appears to be about a block of the Pickle Parrot. Okay. So you could park near the soccer field, but also depending on where the property is at, the old Belize Bank has a parking area. It's an apartment complex, and the name is I can't think of the name. I can't think of the name right now, but I'll get it for you if you want to send me an email. Tom, give me send it to me. But they have a big parking area because it used to be Belize Bank. The owner of Pickle Parrot parks there, things like that. But there is quite a bit of parking right there at the end, where I know other people that live in that area park. A buddy of mine has a triplex or quadplex there, and that's where he parks, right next to Khadijah's not art gallery, but she has nail jewelry gallery and things like that. But there's plenty of parking in that area. maybe not so much now, with it being high season. Placencia has been pretty busy lately. So yeah, thank you. Just send me an email and I'll get the name, but there's definitely some spots over there that you can park, and it's off street. So it's definitely a lot safer, but sometimes they put a chain there, but the chain's never locked. So you could just probably open it or whatnot. And I think the people that own that resort there own that whole strip from the road to the beach, with the apartments there. And so Serena, talk to me a little bit about your goals and what you noticed or what you picked as far as business, if you wanted to share, or any family goals. What Robert said is a lot of people, they stretch or they overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they do in 5 years. So, he talked about, if you make 100 grand a year and you wanted to do what, 80% more, 100% more, be 200 grand.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a stretch, but not too big of a stretch if you had a path on how you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
One of my goals is to have more passive income. So I wrote that down, and he gives us enough information to where we get started, but then we have homework when we come home. So we got to train ourselves, Serena and I, and you, to do the homework and not get put back in the,
Right.
back in the thing, with work and just forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a plan. So I'm going to invite everybody next year. I'll be there. Serena will be there. I'd love to see you there. Any of RE/MAX CCG people that come, we're going to do a dinner one night, where we're on our own. It'll probably be after the event, or the day before the event, because once you're during the event, it's really just between you, your spouse, or you and your business partner, whatever. So they don't really encourage gatherings, if you will, between the classes. So definitely, reach out to me. We'll get discounts from the real estate guys and our mentors for, or getting you preferential treatment, whatever, for being a referral from one of us. And then I'll do something for all my people coming. I'll take you all to dinner, and we'll do something at one of the restaurants after the event. So Serena, why don't you talk a little bit about what you want to share, and then I'm going to look a little bit for that resort while you're talking.
Okay. Yeah. So I think one of the things I took away was he was asking about if, like, raise your hand if you think that you can make 10 times your income. And a lot of people, they were actually like, oh yeah, like I am. But I personally was like, oh, I don't know, 10 times my income. And he put it into perspective of when you had your first job, how much you were making versus how much you're making now. And I'm pretty positive everyone can say that they've 10x to their income. So when you put it into perspective like that, and you're not just thinking about yearly, like you were saying, it was a lot of where do you see yourself in 1 year? Where do you see yourself in 5? And then where do you see yourself in 10? There's a couple questions in there that talked about 20, and things like that. But for the most part, it was 1 to 10. And by year 10, you kind of think, at least for me, and everything changes yearly. That's why we all do this. But it's kind of like, oh, well, the things that I want really are quite attainable. And I think at least in 5 years. So then you can kind of have room to dream a little bigger. And it was a lot of like tapping into, your dreams as a kid and what you really wanted and what you want now. So I really appreciated that. One of my business goals for this year is to open a virtual assistant business. I am looking to hire some people from Belize. I have one lady working for me right now. She's great. And I think that it would be really good to bring people in. I think a lot of people now, especially since COVID, obviously have seen working from home. And I see a lot of that even in our own company at RE/MAX, just that can we work from home, things like that. And I think it's easier now than ever. So we're setting that up, and we're, kind of using the girl that I have right now, not as a test by any means, but just kind of what it's like, what the weekly meetings are like, what can she take on as a capacity wise and things like that. And it's really great seeing how creative she is. It's great seeing the three of us, because she's helping us with our brands at Remax and Caribbean Capital, seeing the brainstorming, and it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of like a nice break from the emails and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to that and structuring that, and that's something that I have to take more time on in that template is really see what we have to do, what the laws are required of hiring someone overseas and things like that. So it's been really good, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and she helps with the art shops.
Mm-hmm.
And the new brain free, or what's the new new
Yeah,
shack?
brain
Brain
freeze.
freeze. I just bought the URL today. So anyway, so yeah, so it's nice to see, and it's English speaking, so the VAs work great. It's a newer time zone, or the time zone is a lot closer to the US than whether the Philippines or whatever, but it's just a different option that we can do. So I figured out what the resort was. It's Briseis Oceana. So it's next to One World, but just past Rick's Cafe. So you'll see it right there. There's a lot of parking right there, but then if the chain's not up, then you can park right in there, and it's gravel, it's off street and things like that. So Tom, if you saw that, it was just, sorry, it was driving me crazy. I couldn't think of it. So yeah.
I will say too that if he has not been to Belize before, I feel like I've seen Tom's name on our attendees before, but if he has not, and to everyone listening, please go get some tacos at the Pickled Parrot, because they are something that I crave, and I have to go with some lime juice every time I'm down there. I miss them so much. I'm so sad. As soon as he said Pickled Parrot, I'm like, oh, I've not had dinner yet.
I know. They are, I think 4 come to a thing, and I order 6. I'm like, Kareem, give me 2 extra. And so they are hard shell. They are the bomb. He said he'll have a couple for you.
Oh no, thank you. Making me jealous.
Tell me when you're coming again, and maybe we'll do it together. What else was it? Oh, let's talk about the jelly bean story.
They're on my
yeah. So you can YouTube this.
I'll find the link. I'll find the link for everyone.
Serena will find the link, and I'm not going to tell you about it. I think you should watch it because it's so impactful. But basically, this guy dumps out a whole pile of jelly beans, and one jelly bean represents one day of your life. And then he takes away the jelly beans for work, for driving, for sleeping, and then you have a little pile left. And then every year we get a little thing of jelly beans, and it says, don't waste your day. And I keep them on my desk. I don't eat them. I tell everybody that works for me, you cannot eat these jelly beans. And they are fresh, by the way.
Right.
Robert has one of his sons put them in there, but watch that. And it's music. Just be prepared, guys, that you will tear up or cry, but nobody cares. It's a very vulnerable environment. He takes you there. It's just so hard to explain. He just takes you there. The music, represents what we're talking about. Of course, the majority of them are country music because you can read the words and all that, but he puts the words on the screen. There's over 1,800 slides, I think he said, over the course of 2.5 days. But it is 3 screens. And so there's 2 screens with words and then the main screen in the middle. But it's just, I can't say enough about it. The first year was the most impactful for me And this year was the most impactful for me because I played full out. The other years, again, like I said, I believed it, but I didn't believe it. I'm always personally fighting with self-doubt, like I don't deserve it or whatever. And so it's just great. And then when I looked before the trip, when I looked over the 76 things I put down, they weren't goals because they weren't, there was no time frame or specific enough, but it was just simple stuff that I put down. And like I said, it was 25%, 26% that were completed, and then another 4 or 5% that have been started, just not completed. So it ended up being like 26, 28%. So, and we talk a little bit about the science, and a lot of it is about who you hang around. Robert said, if you tell me the incomes of everybody you hang out with, he can tell you what your income is. And then one of my other good friends, Dave Zook, he needed some massive tax breaks. And so he started a syndication company, and he's doing very well. He started hanging around dentists, and the dentist helped him with his teeth. He never drove Ford trucks, and he started hanging around this Ford truck dealer owner, and now he's driving Ford trucks. And so it's just, we all kind of gravitate toward people we become. And so it's very important. And what about your new friend that you met at night? The picture guy from National Geographic.
Oh my.
Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so there's one night that's optional, and I think David kind of touched on how they don't really want you hanging out with other people. They want you, but I would argue to say that you don't want to be hanging out with people because you are so exhausted. It is so mentally taxing that you're really just thinking about your goals and who you are. And it's a lot of internal, like, looking glass. So I would say that night, I really didn't want to be there. At the beginning, I was like, man, I am exhausted. But what was nice is I am someone who I'm very visual, and I'm very like, I think when you write down things, I can't think of the word, but so he incorporates a lot of that. The workbooks have like sentences, and there's blanks in them, and you have to write down what he says and stuff like that. So it's really helpful. And the thing that I have actually, and they talk a lot about when you're younger, like what are your hobbies when you were younger? And I was obsessed with photography. I loved photography. But as I got older, I just kind of got away from it because at a certain point when you're young, you're just like, okay, what am I going to do with what am I going to work? And being a photographer wasn't really something that I wanted to do. So I kind of forgot about it. This, I say he's my new friend, and I can't even remember his name. DeWitt Jones. So he is a photographer for like 20 years. I really recommend looking him up. He has a TED Talk that one of my goals is to listen to and really like be present with that. But he is he's great. The pictures were amazing. They were so, and he does like examples of like perspective. So, his picture that he'll show is like, it was a great photo, but then, he waited a little longer and then it was a great photo, like an amazing photo. So it's really about perspective and your lens on life and how, we are in a world that is just inundated with bad news, and we really have to strive to look for the great in it and the beautiful. And that's what he does for National Geographic. And it's amazing. It's amazing. He's so cute. He's in his 80s now.
Is he that old now?
Yeah, he's 80.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And that video was in the 90s. That was taken that they showed, but it was just, it was so good. It was so amazing. His pictures are great. And one of my goals is somehow, some way, I don't know when I'm going to meet him And I think it's pretty attainable because he only has like 3,000 followers on Instagram. So I'm going to try and get in there somehow, but he's great. And I think there's a lot to learn from him, and there's a lot to say about perspective. You know, there's people that, and I'm guilty of it. My flight down to Vegas was not the best, not the easiest, but I was able to kind of shift it, and it turned out to be an amazing trip. But you have people that dwell on it. One of the nights he was talking about like how you have two people that are in an airplane. One person's like, oh, my flight was terrible. It was so bad, blah, blah, blah. Then you have another person on the same flight who's like, yeah, it was, it was a flight, it was whatever. So I want to be one of those people that go through my life like that. And DeWitt Jones is definitely one of those guys. He's great.
It was great. Again, if you join us late, we're talking about goals. We just came back from our goals retreat in Lake Las Vegas. Definitely invite anybody to come next year. Just send me an email and you'll get on the list, or follow us, right? There's a ton of quotes. My mentor, Robert Helms, is a big quote guy, Jim Rohn fan. Ryan, just big quote guy. So you get some gifts and things like that. You pick a word for the year. Serena and I picked all in for mine and her together. My other goal for the year is driven, because I am driven to, get this passive income going, so I don't have to work 80 hours a week. To me, it's not work because I love it, but I'm out of balance. So we have a balance wheel, and we pick out how we feel we're balanced, not what everybody else feels we are, right? It's what you feel, how you feel balanced and happy. And again, it's just, if money was no object, what would you buy? What would you do for that day? If you had 6 months to live, what would you do? And the idea is to don't wait. Who would you call? So it's a hard event to explain, but it's life changing. And so it's definitely, I don't miss it. This was like my 6th, 7th one. So I don't miss it at all. And it fits so well with who you are. And we also touched on a vision board. So if you want to buy a car, if you have a car, let's say you want a 2023 Corvette, they said have a vision board and go to the dealership. And what's more impactful, instead of taking a picture of that car, is go to the dealership, sit in the car, have the salesman take a picture of you in the car and put that on the vision board. My goal this year is to have a small plane, so I can go back and forth to Placencia and check on the chocolate farm in PG, just a lot easier, faster. And I think it's we can rent it out. So I have a picture of me in a plane, and it's on my vision board. One of my goals for the next couple of years is to get a newer Zuzu D-Max. So I'm doing that. I'm sitting in the truck. If you want a new house in Belize, pick this house out. Find one, pick it out, put a picture of it, and put it somewhere where you always look at it. In your office. If you don't want to put it in your office, put it on the refrigerator, on the mirror. And then always have your I am words, your I am, a good person. I am a great father. And just keep rehashing everything. Everything's about mindset. And definitely, check out last year, Robert was on there, and we talked about goals, and we also talked about Mahogany Bay Resort, which he's one of the developers of in San Pedro. And he's my mentor. I met him long before he started this project and whatnot. But again, any questions you have on Belize, we can answer. We have about 15 minutes left. Cameron, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. Thank you for joining. Make sure you also follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the platforms.
I just put the YouTube link in the chat box, and all of the previous All Access Belize are on there. So you could probably if you don't want to search for it, you can probably just type in Robert Helms, all access Belize, and it should pop up.
Yep. And this one will get post-produced and it'll probably be about goals. So if you want to re-listen to this and, I mean, we work on it. We'll have an accountability partner. I already have an accountability partner. It can't be Serena because, they say your spouse and your family members, like Serena's my daughter, if you didn't know. She can't, she is a benefit of the outcome. So she can't be an accountability partner, or she's not a good one. So again, and check us out again, February 2nd.
Yes.
February 2nd. We're going to do 6:30 instead of 5:30 Central Standard Time. So it'll be 5:30 or 6:30 Belize time. And I think that's a good time. Maybe we can get a little more people.
And Ryan will hopefully be our guest next month.
Yeah. And Ryan, we hope will be the guest. If not, we'll have somebody probably I'm going to try hard for the BTB to talk about the qualified retirement program. And I am highly trying to work on a investor residency with the government. So I'm trying to work on that. They just don't want a politician in charge of it. So I'm trying to give them ideas and things like that. Because a lot of people want that plan B. They want a place to bug out to if things hit the fan and where they're at. If you know what I mean. What else? I guess that's it. There's no questions. I appreciate you all. We'll end, 15 minutes early. Appreciate you listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My email is david@caribbeancapitalgroup.com. If you're interested in passive income, if you want to invest in real assets in Belize, that's not, part of, that's passively. Even if you need passive income to help you with taxes and stuff, not in Belize. If you're interested in car washes, ATMs, all my buddies do that, depending on what your need is, right? This isn't about me. This is about what you need. So if you need tax breaks and things like that, and if you're W-2, then I'll send you to one person. If you're self-employed and you have other issues, then, you need some depreciation, then I'll send you to other people. We just try to help wherever we can. And that's what Caribbean Capital Group does. I specialize in Belize. So all my investments right now, my syndications are in Belize. I passively invest in stuff in the US, in oil and gas and things like that. But eventually I'll do some syndications in Belize or in the US, like an apartment building or something like that. And then of course, Remax, if you're interested in actively buying something, doing Airbnb or long-term rental, myself or my team can definitely help you with that. So since there's no questions, we'll go ahead and end. February, we'll be giving away one of these. It's called an ice shaker. Chris Gronkowski is the inventor of this. Serena has one. So make sure you join us next month. He was on Shark Tank. He got a deal with Mark Cuban, and his brother is the Gronk, who just retired from the Patriots. So he's a great guy. I had the privilege of meeting him, having dinner with him and his wife, and what an excellent businessman and an excellent person, excellent father. So we'll be giving one of these away, next month on All Access Belize to one of our attendees. So again, come back, and thanks again, Serena. Thank you for joining me. And again, I apologize for Ryan not being on, but we'll get him on for February. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, Serena.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, Dad.
Bye, babe.